So, as some of you saw from my social media, I was in Chicago over the weekend for a family event, and I had the most kind of bizarre and interesting, but also troubling experience at dinner one night. We're sitting there, on a beautiful patio having tuna crudo and who knows what else. And I noticed that there's a table of about 8 or so people very, very close behind me, just like not really treating the wait staff that well. And as you all know, I'm very sensitive to this, where when diners are like kind of rude in any way to wait staff, it makes me cringe and I notice, and I was very much aware of it. And then all of a sudden I hear a woman say, "Because I'm not voting for Joe Biden, that's for sure." So at this point, I kind of get interested and I start paying attention to the conversation. And it seems as though it was a table full of Republicans, certainly, but mostly MAGA type people. It was a mixed group of men and women, all roughly 60-ish years old, I would say. Other than the fact that they were being rude to the people of color who were waiting on them. Normal looking, right? I mean, they had figured out how to put their clothes on and they spoke relatively coherent English and were native speakers, Americans, all that stuff. So like more or less normal. And I hear, "Because I'm not voting for Joe Biden." So now I start paying attention. One of the men then says, "You know who I like? That Indian guy." Certainly referring to Vivek Ramaswamy. Guy next to this guy says, "Yeah, and the Indian guy isn't part of the deep state." Oh boy, again referring to Vivek Ramaswamy. One person at the table said, "The person I really like is Tim Scott," even though he doesn't really have a shot. And then one woman says to the woman sitting next to her, and this was like when Luke Beasley goes to the Trump rallies and interviews the people who say Trump's still in control of the military, or like the most extreme of extreme conspiracy theories. This woman, in the exact same tone, says to the woman sitting next to her, "You know, Obama's actually calling the shots, right? They've actually admitted it. Biden isn't doing anything." Now, this is all like bad enough. And what was interesting to see was that other than rudely treating the wait staff, these were more or less normal people that don't seem out of their mind if you just see them show up and say, "Hey, table for 8, please. Oh, I'd like a margarita," or whatever, right? So the people that end up at Trump rallies, I often will say, this could be your accountant, this could be your dental hygienist or whatever. It really could be. It really could be. And you don't notice how disconnected from reality they are until the topic of politics comes up. Now, this is where it really gets crazy. At some point, someone from the restaurant comes up to one of the guys at the table and refers to him as Judge. Okay. Now, this is genuinely super scary. Is there a judge in Illinois who believes that Obama is actually in control of the country right now? Obama. I did a quick look and, Chicago area judges. I didn't find a picture of the guy that was sitting at that table. The most interesting moment is the following. That guy, the one that someone referred to as Judge, turns to the person sitting next to him and says, "I'm a strong conservative. I really am. I vote Republican. I'm a strong conservative. I believe in conservative values. But we really don't have a good answer when they," meaning the left, "say blue states are the ones with all the economic activity. And blue states are the ones with the innovation. And blue states are the one with the big economies. And blue states are the ones that are paying in more in taxes. And the red states are the ones that are taking more in taxes. We really need an answer to that. That's really a problem for us." And it was such an interesting moment on the one hand, because this guy realized that is something we don't have an answer to. But where he fails is the answer is it just happens to be the truth. The reality is that that's the case. The blue states in the United States disproportionately subsidize the red states. The economy is overwhelmingly and disproportionately blue states rather than red states in the United States. So the answer would be maybe it's good for state economies to do some of those things that blue states do. And of course, they're all sitting there in Illinois, which is quite a blue state that has voted Democratic for I don't know how long when it comes to the presidency. So I have no idea who was this guy really a judge? Was this guy an Illinois judge of some kind who was saying mostly crazy, but one thing that made sense? I don't know, but it was certainly quite an experience. And, Chicago, what can you say?